Well, actually.
Oh,
All
we're in
right.
the wrong. You're in TMIS. Let me switch over.
Well, actually, we are live, man. So, hello and welcome, F5 community. You're tuned into Build It Live with Jason and Aubrey, and we are going to be talking about multi-cloud connectivity today. So, we're going to be using the distributed cloud for a number of different topics. You know, where the aim is to get a functional application up and installed for you guys to see over time, and really just kind of get back to, I guess, what what we got here from, which is technology. So,
Woo!
how you doing, Jason?
I'm doing fabulous. That was like our fastest countdown ever, I think. So
Yeah, we just got the transition really quick, and then bam,
and then boom, we're here.
yes.
So yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be fun, and this is like step one of many of these that we're going to be doing. So it's really for us to just sit here and explore tech together, and we're going to do it in a systematic way. And I don't want to be too formal about that. The system is like we're just going to build from nothing to something over time, and so that's the system. But it's us having a chance to step back from having pre-canned demos and all that to, hey, we're going to hit lots of bumps on this road, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to do it together. So all good.
Well, for me, and for those of you out there in the community that don't know the guy, Tim Wagner is a guy here in F5. For me, he's been like really pretty influential in kind of my way of thinking about application delivery and where we're going as a company. And the other week, he was talking about migrating services into the distributed cloud, or utilizing more of our internal services in the distributed cloud. So I figured we've got a couple things that we need to get built for some of the podcast stuff for sure. And at a bare minimum, I guess that's where we start. So today, what we wanted to kind of get accomplished was the beginnings, as Jason said. So we're going to talk about multi-cloud and what it means to be multi-cloud, right? I mean, that is a big buzzword these days. And in this particular iteration, what we're working on first, we are hoping to go with two local data centers that would be kind of one with Jason and one with me. And then we've also got the distributed cloud, which is going to front end both of those data centers. So 3 clouds, if you will, and then have a software defined networking overlay over all 3 of these environments. We can add AWS or Azure or whatever we need to in the future to augment what we're working on at the time. So.
Yeah. So that's exciting. So just to take a step back a second, what does multi-cloud mean to you? Like, because I don't know if you remember all the commercials, Super Bowl commercials or whatever, when cloud became a thing. It's like, to the cloud. And it's like, what the heck does that mean in the context of what you're selling me? And so, but for multi-cloud, it's the buzzword, right? It's the big buzzword in the sky. Everybody wants to throw multi-cloud at you. What does it mean to you?
For me, really, we're talking about multiple environments. It doesn't have to be just AWS and Azure. You could be talking about, as we're doing, 2 data centers and maybe an AWS component, or maybe we want to use something specifically within GCP that might be a better fit for what we're working on. Well, that sort of thing is also available to us as well. So I think that with multi-cloud, what we usually come to expect is we're going to have these environments and then a network that is able to be overlaid on top of them, that is not accessible from kind of any other place, that will enable communication on the back end. So for us, this is software-defined networking, and our CE, which is our customer edge on the distributed cloud, is really F5's SDN router. For me, that was something that when I was working sales still and service provider, I had a virtual NAT project that I was working on, and I would have killed for us to have a virtual router at the time, or an SDN router at my disposal, but that wasn't with our bag of tricks at the time. So now we have that.
Yeah, and sky's the limit with that, right?
Well, it's fun. I was listening to another call earlier today, an internal call, where somebody was saying you just don't realize the additional things that are capable with this sort of um, software, and the architectures that are possible with this sort of software. As a for instance, I mean, we're all used to, I think most of us as F5ers or F5 community members are used to doing things like, I used to preach to my customers, we have a VIP pool, a VIP pool node methodology, or if you expanded, a WIP VIP pool node methodology, which is really pretty set in stone. But with a distributed cloud, you don't really have that sort of thing. With multi-cloud, you don't really have that sort of thing. We could have a scenario where one application has 6 different VIPs and backends, or what we would consider to be pool members that exist in 5 different data centers, and all of them are accessible via one Anycast IP address. So that to me is really exciting. We're not looking at this sort of, I need 3 or 4 IP addresses with multiple data centers. I have to establish a GSLB relationship between them to drive traffic to them. And then after that, create my VIPs and on and on.
Right.
It's much, much easier and more scalable.
Yeah. Well, and just to kind of step back from that a little bit, the setting up things like tunnels between data centers, historically, it's not that things like that are hard necessarily, but you think about all the steps in a dynamic environment that you have to manage in front of the connectivity between the two, but also behind the connectivity. And if you care about the security of the connections that are happening within your perimeter between those locations, well, then you're tackling on or tacking on not only the fact that you want to be able to tunnel between, but what destinations are you allowing to be tunneled in between, and the manual effort of that, unless you're going to build a lot of software on the backside to automate all that, which by the way is what the modern solutions do. It's just taking a lot of that manual effort away from you so that you can focus on more important things. But setting up tunnels, not a hard thing in theory. Keeping them up over time, much more of a chore in today's modern economy.
Now, I would like to also just really quickly, Jason, you asked me before, what does multi-cloud mean to me? I'd like to reflect that question back on the community. If you're out there and you're watching live, feel free to chime in the chat, of course. Whatever you guys say, we're gonna be sitting here and responding to. Now,
that's right.
I should ask,
and we will not flog you publicly if you're wrong. So,
did I promise that? I don't think I promised that yet.
I promise that I won't. Well, I might, be very passive aggressive about it, but
or we could get Michael Coleman to come and flog people. I'm sure he would be willing to. I'm sure, because I did talk to him about kind of this exercise a little bit earlier today. So Coleman, if you're out there watching, thanks for the help, bud. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, real quick, Jason, we've done a little bit of initial setup. I went through my setup just to make sure that I still had all the settings correctly for putting a CE into my NUC, and really that's what we're using. We both have Intel NUCs. So we're going to be installing CE software in both of our environments. Now, mine is, like I said, already done. I wanted to make sure that we could get that done and then sort of take the time to focus on getting Jason's up and connected in the live portion of this. So
yeah.
Are you back to rebooted?
Totally. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I'm up and I'm alive, and I can bring my screen up here. So I'm at the point to where I'm on my NUC controller. So the virtual machine manager that connects to my NUC. So my NUC is it's not a desktop. It's just a server. It's a headless server. Actually, currently it does have a head on it because it had a failure and I had to troubleshoot that. So currently it does have a head, but normally it's headless. So
okay.
But I digress. So yes. So at this point, I need to actually build a CE, right? So what do? I'll be the dum-dum, and you can walk me through it.
So I've got a little banner along the bottom of the page just to get people to the documentation for this process in case you want to follow along at home and see where we are. At this point, the last thing that we did, if you're following along on the Create KBM libvirt site, is we just enabled huge huge pages on Jason's host. So you got to have virtualization support for your host that's going to land this app. You've got to have huge pages on there as well. I was surprised to see that we don't still need to turn off disk cache on this, but I guess that's maybe something new within the software or auto-sensed or something. But good job to all you hardworking folks in product over there in the distributed cloud.
By the way,
so
the word huge is forever ruined for me because of our former president. I cannot hear huge anymore. It's always
huge pages.
huge,
Yeah.
huge pages.
Well, we can always try and get in touch with the Linux Foundation to see if maybe we can fork a branch of that is with a Y instead, so it's a little more. So then we also have create virtual network after this, which Jason, I know you've already done this. Your KVM setup is good to go. Now, for any of you out there who are new to KVM, if you're doing this on KVM, great. If you're doing it on VMware, fantastic. We just both happen to be Linux guys, and so we wanted to go with KVM on this one. But usually what you want is we are using Bridge. So Bridge networking is a really great way to go if you want to just do the easiest way to get this thing connected and up on your network. That means you're going to be using your native DHCP services on your home network or whatever network you're in, and it'll allow you really great flexibility. Now, the additional piece that we put in there is we also, and are you doing a verse show on the networks?
Yeah, those are the ones on my Nook. I created 3.
Yep.
You only have to have the one to connect your CE into your local network, but I wanted to have a couple host-only networks on my Nook so that I can test, because I also have, as you can see on my my Vert Manager, it's not connected. Let me reconnect that. I also have a Ubuntu test box on there and a big IP. And so I have those in host-only networks to be able to test client-server traffic internal to the box that are not accessible to the outside. And so it could just keep all that traffic, not knocking the TV off, because if the TV gets knocked off the network, I get yells down the stairs, and nobody wants that. So
the hilarity is that we didn't communicate on what we were doing as far as the networks are concerned and whatnot, and we ended up with the exact same configuration. Not only that, but I have a big IP and an Ubuntu test box on mine as well.
Nice.
So I'm going to say you've already gone through the network portion, and now the next piece is to install the node. So we're not going to do that with the terminal, which you can do. We can definitely do that, but we are going to move to using the virtual machine manager that Jason's already got there. The reason that I wanted to investigate that when I first started working on distributed cloud, I did a couple videos internally on it, which maybe we should polish those up and release them on DevCentral. But this is the way that we tell our customers to install virtual editions on Big IP. So when you go to documentation for F5 Big IP, you're going to see Virtual Machine Manager as the default way to install in KVM or in any sort of Linux-based environment. So we're going to install from ISO on this one. So if you want to fire up a brand new installation there, we can get going.
Okay, so connection there. Yep, local install from media, right?
Yep, and forward. Yeah. Now this one, you're going to select you drop that in your images. I saw it. So that is just selecting the ISO that we downloaded previously. You can find the download location in the dock that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. And CentOS 7 is what you want to pick here, because that is the base of the OS at this point. Go ahead.
And that's what it says in my fancy little file name too. So
that's right.
Just following along. All right, good to go, Ford?
Yep. That's all we need here.
All right, now memory. Okay. I'm pretty sure we need a little bit more than one gig.
So what I've been told as of today by the North American Distributed Cloud Architects was 12 gig minimum. I did 16. 16 is just a nice round number. Thanks, Matt Harmon, for convincing me. Didn't have to twist my arm too hard. You want 16 gig and 4 cores. So, yeah.
Is that the calculation right? The 16 3D4?
Check it. This is me doing lab stuff. Alexa, what is 16 times 1024? 16384.
Yep. And 4 cores, right?
And 4 cores, yes.
All right. And disk, we probably need a little bit more than that.
I did 500. The reason being, I wanted to go with we're going to do Kubernetes here. So if we want to do some larger disk claims or things like that, we're going to have a little bit more flexibility. I have like 2 terabytes in my NUC. I don't know what you have. So,
it says 68 gig available in the default location.
Let me see if I can increase my visibility of your screen here. And yeah, do a DF-H. Yeah. Thanks. I can't. I don't want to convert.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You probably have some free stuff, but it's okay. I mean, we can make it smaller for later. Now.
Yep, I can resize it later. Let me just do. I'll do 50 gig for now, so I don't fill that up. Okay.
That works.
All right. Okay, let me rename
change
that.
Yeah, change your name and
F5 XC C and customize before.
Always and customize.
Bridge network. That's what I want.
You want bridge.
That's
network.
My host bridge. That's the one that connects outside. All right.
So the things you want to change here, you want to make sure that the NIC is VirtIO. So if you find the NIC on the left-hand side,
NIC, VirtIO.
Okay. It is VirtIO, and you want to make sure that your CPUs match the current configuration. So go up in CPUs, and copy host is good. Can you expand the topology there just to make sure that kind of, yeah. So for sockets, 1 core. Okay, good. This looks good. And if you go to the overview, I always take a look at the overview one last time.
Okay. Now you had mentioned one thing that cache mode was something you used to disable, but that's not. We don't have to do that anymore.
They used to mention it right on the documentation, and they don't mention it there anymore. So you can disable write cache. I think is a thing there if you really want to.
Yeah. No,
but mine installed and connected, so I think we should be okay.
Okay.
All right, the overview looks good to me. You've got your name correct. Go ahead and begin installation in the upper left hand.
Boom. Boom shakalaka.
So now this part does take a little bit. But we'll go through it. Now that you can see, we've got the console here, and we can do install.
Go ahead and click install.
Yep.
Done.
And I'm going to.
Well, that's doing it. I want to give a shout out. Scott, how are you today?
Hey, Scott.
Thanks for joining us. Oh, and that Boo guy, he's out there too.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, I'll just rub it in a little bit. Since Boo mentioned it, don't bring up the Super Bowl around Aubrey. How'd that go for you, Aubrey? Since we're bringing it up.
2 first-round draft picks next year.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt. So I currently live in St. Louis, where the NFL stole a team from us. But I'm moving to Kansas City this summer, who happens to be the team that beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So what I fully anticipate to happen is the projected dynasty will collapse and become a horrible team forever and ever because I'm arriving in Kansas City. And that's just the way it happens to go for me in sports. I am a Missouri Tiger fan for, since my childhood, and they continually just stick the knife in and twist and twist and twist at my fandom. And so, I'm used to being on the raw end of the deal. All right, so log in.
Yep. And so
the default
admin.
Login is and then the password is by default. I haven't looked at the documentation.
So it's
RTFM.
Capital V. So it's Volterra 123. That's just the default. So
yeah, that is a very secure security company password. But yeah, default. Got it.
So we're going to you're going to want to enter. The nice thing about it is it forces you to create your new password immediately. So if you go ahead and type in the password that you just entered, Volterra123,
Okay.
with the capital V at the beginning, that's the admin.
Yep. And then new
And then
password.
I messaged you in Teams with what I set the password to. So we'll have uniformity.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
Perfect. So now hit enter and we should be good to go as long as they match.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanna mention Scott real quick. So from Detroit, they've won one playoff game my whole life, almost 49. Wow. Yeah. So we're kind of close to the same age. I turned 49 this last weekend. So last day or last year in my 40s. The 50s are coming hard. In fact, we were at Denny's with the kids the other day, and I saw the senior meal at 55. I'm like, what? I do not feel like a senior yet, but it's coming, and it's coming hard for me.
And Scott, at least you had the best NFL player of all time on your team. I mean, Bear Sanders.
Yep.
Jeez. Wow. Well, maybe Jim Brown, but we could debate that another time. And also Jeff Aldrich here, the refs. We're the MVPs. Yes. I like to think of the 4 Eagles Super Bowls typified as lost to the Raiders, lost to the Patriots, beat the Patriots, lost to the refs. Good. I'm not bitter.
Did you see that trolling tweet from Juju
Smith-Schuster?
Yeah,
I didn't.
It's like the guy who held him. It's like I'm holding out for you. It was like a Valentine's card that he sent yesterday, and it had him on there. I'm holding out for you or something like that. It caused a stir on Twitter. It's
terrible.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty bad. All right.
So from here,
I digress. Where do we go?
So from here, this is like I like doing this at this point. I like to abandon the terminal if I can, this terminal. So what we're going to do is we're going to do you got a couple of different things you can do. You could do get-config and hit enter. Now, if you can scroll up, your IP address is buried in that scribble somewhere, or the way that I do
this is I don't think I can scroll up.
Right. The way that I do it in the Vert Manager window is I do health. So not in the docs, right? This isn't in the docs, but I figured out that health will give me the same information. So and it is piped to either less or more, less is more, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you should be able to see an IP address in there at the top. So
yep, it's in there.
You got it. Okay, good.
Yep. So I can come over here and
SSH as admin to it with your new password. Now, why would we do this? Because the Vert Manager window does not manage the copy buffer very easily. So you want to be able to copy and paste nicely between windows at this point, especially because you're going to need a couple of things in this next part. So once we have a CE up and functional, because really we have installed the CE software, it's done. It's installed. Now what needs to happen next is we need to connect it up to the distributed cloud, and then it will begin to update itself automatically. So let's do that with if you type config and hit enter.
Okay.
Configure, sorry, config tab. I'm used to, yeah.
There you go.
Now,
I do need to get a token. Yep.
Your token. So if you log into our, do you want me to show this, or do you have it up in that window?
Yeah, let me bring it up.
I
gotta find my bearings. Oh, I'm in there.
There you are.
Yep. Do you see it?
Perfect. Okay. So we need to go down to manage. And in manage, you want to go to site management and site tokens. So when we first started doing this, and I'll let you log in again here, but when we first started doing this in the distributed cloud team, with all the new SEs at F5, everyone wanted their own token, but truly you only need one single token for an organization to add CEs. There's nothing that it really gains you to have multiple tokens other than maybe self-organization. If that's something that you want to do, you can have a token per person, but really you definitely need one. So that is the token that you need. Copy the UID, And we'll see if we can't paste it right in there. Oh,
no, it's I'm trying to Mac right click here and
paste. Oh,
nope, that's not liking that either. Oh, I'm in the wrong window. That's wait, no, that should be right.
that's the right window.
Here, let me.
No, that's too bad.
I'm actually in a virtual environment. Let me do this. Let me get to a non. Let me do it here.
Oh, perfect. All right. So now once we've SSH'd in here with the new password again, for anyone who's just kind of joining, we're going to start configuring this distributed cloud CE that is built on KVM and Linux on an Intel NUC. So what does that say there? What is your token?
Let's see. So, yeah, what is your token? I did that one already, got it in there. So now it's what is your site name? So I was going over here. What did you add as a site name?
So my site name is what, AK NUC CE? Is that it? Site list. It's AKDC site. That's what I did. So if you want to
AKDC site.
Yep. It
Okay.
doesn't really matter, but
so should I? Okay, so maybe just JR-DC site for consistency.
Yeah, and this is all. A lot of this stuff is lowercase in the distributed cloud console. So
okay,
just something to note there.
JR-DC site. Okay.
Yep. All right. So now, what is your note? I called mine AKCE0, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Let me see. Did you have? Let me see. That's your site. What'd you call your nodes?
I called AK-CE-0.
Okay. Now, so explain the concept of node versus site while I do this.
Sure. So a site is analogous almost to a data center in GTM speak. So if you guys have, if you are out there and you're part of the F5 community, that really is it. It's a loose concept. We've got this site, right? And then the site is made of nodes. So a site can be a single node. A site can be 3 or more. So personally, I've only done a 3-node site, and you should try and think of this thing as Kubernetes, because really it is, it is that's what we are going to be using this environment for. So 3-node cluster is what you typically want to do. We don't need that. We're going to just do site redundancy. So single node clusters is fine for us. And then, now I did not do my lat and long. This is something that you need for your CEs so that you can find them on the map. Otherwise they turn up at 0, out in the middle of the ocean, which is nasty. It's hard to find, and it's confusing the first time you do it. So what I did is
how do you go about finding that? Do you just do that on Google Maps?
I do maps.google.com, and I look up a place that for my demos that I want to do. So I did Nick Tahoe's in Rochester, New York. If you've ever had a garbage plate in Rochester, New York, that's what we're famous for. So if you're looking to kind of come and find me for Kubernetes help or for F5 help, you're going to go to Nick Tahoe's based on that. So the Gateway Arch. Hey, perfect. And now all you got to do is right click.
12 miles down the road from me.
You got to right click on that, or click on it rather, and then click on the lat long.
All right.
Now that I just put that in a text file and save it, because I use that fairly frequently for my distributed cloud demos.
Okay. So, and then it's lat first and then long.
Yep.
Okay. So
you can copy paste. Yep.
I can. I am capable of copy and paste. Not much more, but I can copy and paste.
I have faith in you, bud.
Boom. All right. Fleet name. What the heck is that?
So fleet name is, we can leave that alone for now. Fleeting is something that you can do to establish configurations that are essentially stampable over and over and over again. So just hit enter at this point.
All right.
And we want to make sure that we do a KVM volt stack combo here. Now, this is essentially analogous to hardware and software combination. So we're saying that with the volt stack, we are wanting to actually have the application portion, not just the networking, but both all in one. So go ahead and hit that guy and enter.
Okay, and we're doing KVM because that's the virtualization that we're using, right? So
that's
if
right.
you were setting it up not the way we're doing it, you would pick possibly a different one.
Yep, generic.
Okay.
I would think.
Okay.
And then F0 is it.
All right. Confirm.
Confirm. Yes.
Okay.
And you are good to go. So
now what do I do?
At this point, we need to actually complete the registration for the node, because at this point, now that he's already put the configuration in, we've got the appropriate key. It's going to reach out, it being the customer edge node is going to reach out to the distributed cloud. Typically, it's going to go for 2 of the regional edges, and it will establish an ECMP relationship between both. So I went to New York and Toronto. We'll see who you end up getting here. But you're going to have to log back into the console, the distributed cloud console.
Okay, I'm there.
And so under manage, you're going to go to site management. Okay. And now here we go to registrations. Now you have a pending registration here, so you want to click the green checkbox.
The green checkbox. Right. Oh, blue?
Or blue checkbox, sorry. Luke's green here.
You're good. You're good.
So you've got your JRDC site. You've got that it's a CE. The cluster size is 1. Yep. So that's correct. Now, if you are doing a multi-node cluster, all you have to do is set it to 3, and then understand that you won't complete registration until all 3 are up and functional and have gone through this process. Now, if you head to the bottom of the page, save, and we are.
So I don't need to worry about any of this stuff, the selecting software and labels, annotations.
Nope. Not at this point. That's more advanced features typically. So at this point, if you click on the sitemap, you should be able to see that we are both there in North America as you zoom in. There you go. So if you zoom in, I used do you have a wheel on your mouse, or that should?
I'm using my touchpad, so
oh yeah.
I mean, I can spread my fingers, but typically that the accuracy of doing that. Okay, so there's AKDC site. See that?
You can see mine is green there, and then yours is currently. Now, if you click on that guy, yours, it's going to bring up a submenu to show you exactly what's going on the right-hand side. So you should be able to just click on it.
Okay.
Yep. Now you can see what your regional edges are in the middle on the right, and they're both red, meaning you're not establishing communication with them yet. Now, if we want to troubleshoot this, because this is one of those things that I was very hot on, like, well, where am I? I want to know what's going on with my installation. You're probably a guy that, tail-f, varlog messages and
give me the whatnot. I don't know, while you were talking, I don't know if you saw, I was like, hey, how do I log? Because I'm down here. I want to see what's going on.
Actually, let's do it in both places. Go back to the command line. Do a log VPN. VPM, I think it is.
Right? Okay. Oh, that's helpful.
Yep. And then if you hit Shift G, that's going to take you to the end.
Yep.
There you go. Now, I'm going to say it live. One of the things that I recommended as an addition to the product would be to pipe this thing to less rather than to more. But it's already registered publicly in the old Volterra Asks site, so we'll see if they get that in there. But at least this will show you where you are. Now, most of the time, if you continue to, like, I hit Q and then up arrow and enter again, then Shift G, and see you may or may not have different things now. Most of the time, what this is a couple of different things. You're going to see all kinds of Ike stuff, things about IPsec setting up and wanting to actually create those tunnels. And then you're also going to see things having to do with the Kubernetes cluster being brought up. So those are the kinds of messages that we'll have there.
Yeah,
a lot of it
what's interesting here is I'm in the middle of the certified Kubernetes administrator course, and so I'm seeing some of these messages like, I know what that means, and so it's like, hey, we're going to build some static pods there. If it's going in Etsy Kubernetes manifest, those are static pods. So
I hope you're gonna do better than I did on my CKA. Thanks, Tony
Most of the
Marfildo.
practice exams I've been passing thus far, but I haven't done the killer SH yet, and I've heard the killer SH is really difficult to pass. The practice exams are really hard to pass, and they're actually harder than the test. So I'm going to take the first one of those next week and see where I am. I'm weak on volumes, like storage. I'm really weak on storage, and I'm kind of weak in some of the security settings. So those two are the areas I need to spend more time on. The rest of it feels pretty comfortable thus far, but we'll see when we get in a real exam, because I tend to go into exams with a lot of confidence and then get humbled pretty quickly. So we'll see.
DR is pretty important with that. That I remember. They want to make sure that you understand how to grab your configuration and then be able to spit it back out nice and fast. So
I do know how to back up etcd, so that's good. All right, well, that looks like we're making progress, because it's downloading stuff now.
Absolutely. So there's all kinds of, it's kind of mumbo jumbo-y, if you will, though. If you're not used to really scrolling through logs, that can be daunting. So if we take a look here, back in the console at the site list this time, Jason, rather than clicking on it, and let's go into the expanded view from the site list of your node. You can see there that it's still in a provisioning state. But if you scroll to the right and under actions, manage configuration. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. Cancel that. Sorry about that. Yeah, so don't expand that. Click on your site, rather.
Just click. Oh, you're down now. Yours went down.
Yeah, I see that. That's
what'd you do, man?
It could be updating at this point. But so with yours, one of the things that I like to show off here is if we go into nodes up at the top, like obviously this is a lot of data here, and it's a little daunting, but the important things when you're coming up is to click on nodes and to make sure that you can see where your CPU and memory is. But if you click on your node itself, that'll also take you into the interfaces, and it'll let you see kind of what the process is, and where in the process you are. So in the top left, your update status is what? In progress.
I'm looking for updates. Oh, right there. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
So that is one thing to take a look at. And if you use the back arrow to go back, for me, that's the easiest from that screen. Then if you scroll to the right on the top, there is, at the very end, you've got tools. I like the tools. This will let you take a look at the log. So how many lines do you want to see? Do you want to see 200? Do you want to see 5,000? That's all very good. This will also allow you to ping anything from your node. So if you need to ping local containers that are inside your node, you can do that. If you need to ping an upstream router from your node or an upstream system from your node, you can also do that here as well. You can do TCP dumps and trace routes, get an idea of what routes are there, and show BGP relationships from your peers. So this to me is a really critical thing to understand if you're trying to troubleshoot your node coming up for the very first time. Now, let's see here. So we're still waiting on yours at this point, and we've kind of gone through the troubleshooting. I guess we probably could talk a little bit about the application, if that's what we had sort of talked about maybe doing. So I figure I'll sort of detail a little bit about what we're looking to do here. Once we've established the connectivity with these, we have, as you guys know, a couple of podcasts that are out there right now this month in security, as well as DevCentral Connects. Now, we've got another podcast that is kind of coming out at this in Mobile World Congress. So not next week, but the week after, that is SP focused. So this is called The Local Loop. And one of those things, if you are familiar with podcasts and how they are hosted, is that they focus on RSS feeds. Well, RSS is usually done via HTTPS these days. So I think, as Jason and I were talking, we wanted to maybe try to figure out how we could manage the next RSS feed for our forthcoming podcast so that we can utilize the distributed cloud to not only get this thing all over the world, but also to defend it from attacks that exist in live time. And we think that this will really show a lot of what can be done with the distributed cloud and will allow us an opportunity to have an application that's up to date that we can take care of in live time as we continue to do these live streams with setups and building things.
And hopefully that's the tip of the iceberg, because I've got some ideas that I've floated amongst us teammates that I would like to do around some real-time interaction within the distributed cloud for some engagement opportunities on DevCentral. So, won't call that out here, but as we start to roll some services into a DevCentral tenant, hopefully we'll be able to build on that, and I'm excited about it.
Sure. Yeah, me too. And it's funny. One of the things that I was trying to play with while we were coming up to the live stream and just sort of waiting to go live was DNS. That's one of those things not a lot of people realize that we have in this platform now. We have the ability for customers to do managed DNS straight out of distributed cloud, even on the free account. And I should note that, by the way, that what Jason and I are using right now to display this stuff is a free tier account. You can do my understanding is 2 CEs on a free tier account. So we're going to try and max this thing out, but you also have the ability to ingest DNS zones and to do global server load balancing if you want to incorporate that in your designs. So we're gonna be also pulling in the thismonthinsecurity.net domain name and putting up an aggregator for all the different media, because there are a lot of options with that one. So, but again, just to have something that we can defend and we can sort of show people that exists in live time. So I think your site is showing more available. It's not all the way. What is that, a 60 something, Jason?
Ooh, we are above the failing threshold in most public high schools at this point. We're above 60%, right? So that's good. That's a good D- floating there.
Well, and this process can take some time occasionally. It depends on how stable, the internet is in some geolocations, as we try to, make sure that we get the CE connected up to the right pops.
Yeah. Well, and it's doing a whole lot, right? I mean, we're getting closer. We're at 76.8 now. So
yeah,
alerts
and climbing quite rapidly.
Yep. Yep. So that's good. We're almost there. We refresh that. Are we going to be up?
It's getting close.
82.
80s. It's getting closer. Yeah. Now, I'm taking a look on my side too to see if there's anything of pretty cool interest to show here. You do actually, if you scroll down on your page for the CE in your site list.
Let's see. Go to site list.
Yep, go to site list, and then right in your site.
Look. We got a green.
Ooh, that's good. Well, we're not going to be able to see what I was going to show then. So right now we have 2 different nodes that are up and available. Quite nice. Now, this is what we've got. At this point, we do have a network. We have our own tenant space, and we have 2 nodes which are capable of touching the topmost cloud, if you will, the F5 distributed cloud. What can we do with this from here? We can't do much with this today. We need to first establish an application backend. So I think what we're going to be able to do is come back for another one of these. What did we talked about it 2 weeks out? Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, the next one is March 1st. So we're going to go March 1st at I don't have the time in front of me. We'll get it out there. It'll be publicized. But March 1st, and we're going to go every 2 weeks. So March 1st, 15th, and 29th in the month of March, we're going to iterate over this over the course of March to get from a point where we've built an application, we've deployed that application, we've published that application, and then, hey, we have an application out in the world, and it's open season from all of those crazy bots that like to do crazy things. Maybe we ought to protect that from bots, script kiddies, state actors, whatever. I don't know if state actors are coming for an RSS feed, but you never know. So,
well, they might. You never know. I mean, it's this month in security, so if we call out any state actors and make somebody angry,
there you go.
That always is a problem. We did the only people that we had on though was we actually had one of the gangs that we mentioned that noted on one of our videos and said, "Boy, you guys are really close to how we're doing these things, but just a little bit off." Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for watching.
Look at that. We're both at 100%. So we're up. We have 2 sites. We need to connect them to do things, and we'll get that. We'll get that going in a future episode. So join us again March 1st for another Build It Live. And I'm excited to do this again, Aubrey, and this is fun. I'm glad that we get to this point. We can kind of play around there. Before we cut out of here, anybody have questions about just the build process of getting your sites connected? Let us know, and we'll answer that either in the last few minutes we have here, or in the in the next episode, or out in the community. Drop us a line and we'll answer it offline, or actually online, but not live, in the community.f5.com. And before we go, Aubrey, we have these things in here where we have a software version and an OS version, and I've got these fancy little upgrade buttons.
Yes,
I like to go clicky on stuff when I'm learning new stuff. What is the difference here in this environment of CEs? What's the OS version and what's the software version? What's the difference there?
So I'm glad you asked, and I do have one little additional upgrade type thing to drop after this. But the upgrade, so the software version is really the software that runs the distributed cloud services. So any of the things that we layer on top of the connectivity. So that essentially. And then the OS version is really just the operating system version of the CE itself. So that's what iteration we are on our code, because it isn't just CentOS. If you're expecting CentOS, it's not just CentOS. I sat with one of the smartest security dudes I know and tried to just hack root on that thing, and good luck. So so I would tell you that definitely you want to upgrade, and so go ahead. I mean, because that's kind of what I do at the end of my lab sessions anyways, right? I like, okay, well, let's just upgrade it and call it a day and come back and do the next one. So if you click upgrade on yours, I'm also going to click upgrade on mine, and they will both start.
Okay.
Now let me see if I can also grab my one screen that I wanted to show as well.
How often do these get updated? Because I'm noticing that the software version is this saying that this was released this day? Oh no, it looks like a 2023-02-13. So as of today, this version is the latest, right?
It's 3 days old.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yes. So that's there are rolling upgrades. They're available quite frequently, and if you want to check, obviously Google is going to show you everything. If you go to Google and just look at F5 distributed cloud upgrades, you're going to find that upgrade schedule. It's out there and easy to find. Same with the documentation as well. Even though we did bring up the documentation link in the picture here, Google is the easiest way to find it. It's all out there and all public.
I might be putting you on the spot here on an answer you don't know, but how often do you have to upgrade? Because I know that in some environments, whether it's Kubernetes or otherwise, it's like only so many versions are supported in the current revision of the underlying system. So like, how often should one expect to make sure that they roll updates?
That one I can't tell you.
Okay.
For me, I loved grabbing them anytime I saw them. And the nice thing, of course, is if your application is developed appropriately and it's multi-site, you're going to be able to do one site and upgrade it, and it won't impact any sort of connectivity. And then once it's done, you do the next site. Or if you're using fleets, you can just blast up a new site and that kind of thing, and then upgrade the site that was the initial one. All shell game, the same kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like mine upgraded fine, but it's still reconnecting and getting things good to go. But the update
Great.
was successful, so that's good.
Well, before we call it a day, then I would love to really quickly just show a quick Linux tip, if you don't mind. I was going to show really quickly how to upgrade. How to upgrade your Linux system with Screen so that you can actually detach remotely. If you don't know how to do it, it's a really easy thing to do. And it'll just make sure that you can walk away from that server, or just don't have to worry about it. So if you're newer to Linux, it's not your thing. I'm going to SSH to my Ubuntu server at this point. I do have key to SSH, so that's why you saw me just SSH in right there. But for me, I have forever used Screen-S update. This establishes a brand new Screen session. If you don't have Screen, apt-get install Screen, aptitude install Screen, whatever you're using there. And then from the Screen session here, the nice thing about this, you can see I can Control A and then hit D, and I'm out of the screen. So if I Screen-ls, I see that I have a screen called 3008.update. All I have to do to connect back to that screen is Screen-x, lowercase x, update. And I'm back in my screen. So the idea here is I can do a sudo apt-get update and apt-get dist-upgrade. Enter my super secret password. Starts working, and I Control D. I've disconnected from the system. My upgrade is still happening in the background. I can completely walk away from it.
Aubrey, I don't know if it's just my screen or your screen looks kind of fuzzy to me.
It does.
But I don't know if it's me or if it's it could be my connectivity, but it looks a little fuzzy.
Okay. Well, hopefully it'll come out in the edited video portion of this one, but but really that's kind of all I wanted to show. In addition, that's something that was definitely handy for me, and I use that all the time. So with that, I guess, Jason, thanks for doing this with me, man. It's enjoyable. I know when you first went out and did the live coding stuff, I was like, man, I'd love to do that. So I'm glad you kind of brought me along for this one, man.
Absolutely. These are fun. We're going to do a lot of them coming forward. And so I'm excited about that. And we have a lot of things coming up in the next several weeks. I'm going to be at User Group on Friday in Columbus, Ohio. So if you happen to be in that area, you can register for that on DevCentral, or shoot me a message, j.rom@f5.com, and I can get the invite from Mr. Jack Fenimore, who's hosting it all, a friend of the DevCentral team. And so I'll be out there on Friday, driving across I-70 tomorrow. Not that I-70 is a particularly beautiful drive, but it'll be good to get to Ohio for that. And then we have it coming up in March, Nginx Microservices March. We're going to do a lot of live labs with that, in addition to the Build It Live stuff that we're doing. So lots of content coming your way. We're excited about it. And so we will see you out there in the community.
Have a great F5 day.
Oh, hey, DevCentral community. Aubrey here with DevCentral. I'm just working on something, that I guess I'd like to tell you about right now that I'm very excited about. No, it's not the one-loss Eagles this year. We have a podcast. That's right. DevCentral Connects, our weekly live stream, will now also be able to be consumed in podcast format. We've done the same thing that we did with This Month in Security and put that up on SoundCloud, and have now redistributed that out to all the other places that you might be familiar with. If you have any spots that you're missing it on, please don't hesitate to reach out on community.f5.com and let me know. I'll do what I can to help you with it. But until then, tune in. DevCentral Connects podcast starting now.